Good morning. How are you today? I hope everybody is safe, well, and happy. Um, I am coming to you today to talk a little bit about fine motor and writing and how we support that in school and how you can support it at home. Um, Again, I'd like to make sure I emphasize everything that we're doing on these videos. These are just suggestions and ideas. Hopefully they spark some other ideas in you on how to keep your kids busy and healthy. It's not meant for you to sit them down and force them to do anything that I'm asking them to do. Hopefully they want to do it, and most everything we do should also be surrounded with play and interactive play where you're talking to them and asking them tons of questions and why they decided to do that and how they could fix it and what it looks like, and be specific. Ask them questions that are not just yes and no, that they have to answer with a few words, and just try to draw those words out and have those conversations, because ultimately that's where all of the learning lives, right? Is with those meaningful conversations that we have with our kids. So even kids as old as mine, teenagers, sometimes conversations aren't easy to have. They want to end them pretty quickly. So it's important to really keep trying to have more than 2 or 3 exchanges, and to have sentences that are complete with multiple words, and use those big, juicy, wonderful words. And you can do this in Spanish or English. The results are exactly the same. They're wonderful. So we just want to continue that conversation and play and make sure we're keeping our activities light and breezy with them. If they're not interested in doing it, then go to a different video or go outside, find some rocks, pick some grass, do whatever makes them happy, because learning is everywhere, and it is not just isolated in a classroom or here in my kitchen. You can go out and throughout your home and find wonderful learning opportunities wherever you are. All right, so let's start. In class, we try to trace or write our name every day. So that's part of our procedure. It's part of our schedule. It's incorporated into our day. So all of my students will sort of sit down and do it as part of that time of the day. So it makes it very easy for me to have them do that, because they're very willing to do it for me. But at home, the setting is slightly different, and they might not want to try in front of you, or they might be a little reluctant to show you their progress with writing. Really, developmentally speaking, writing is sort of like we do it or we don't do it. Really, most kids are going to learn to write in kindergarten and in the upper grades. And so we do a lot of things to support their fine motor growth and muscles prior to ever really touching a marker or a pen. But I do know some of my students are writing their names, and all of them can trace to a certain degree what they're doing, their names or letters. So I thought I would show you how I do that, and then we will look at some of the activities we can do to support fine motor through play. Okay? So basically what I would suggest is that if your child draws a picture or does something they're really proud of, even if it's like a building that they've built or a mess they've made, whatever, ask them to sign it. So that can look in a couple of different ways. So if they've built a structure that they're super proud of, put their name on a piece of paper with a little piece of tape and have them trace their name, and then they can sign you can tape it to the structure. We know you made that. If they've drawn a picture, go, hey, who drew that picture? Did Miss Helen draw that picture? No, you drew that picture. How do we know when you draw a picture? Well, you sign it. You show us. Artists sign their work. So the best way for a child to trace their name is using a highlighter or maybe a colored pencil. You can use, I would stay away from the dots. They're kind of confusing and hard to track, and they sort of all, like for me visually, they all blend together, and I know a lot of students, that's the case. So the yellow marker or a highlighter, you can use just a light colored highlighter. You can use to write their name. I would stay away from really swoopy letters or your own sort of idea of pretty writing, unless that's what you're doing. So I know some of my friends might be really happy to write their name fancy. So you could certainly try that as well if that makes them happy. But if we're sticking to their name, let's try to keep it as simple as possible. But again, if that's how you get them to the table to write, then fancy writing it is. All right, so here we go. I'm going to write my name in highlighter. And I'm going to kind of write it big because we don't write small yet. So here we go. There's my name, Helen, written in highlighter. And then I'm going to ask Helen, me, to trace it. So I'm going to just have them go over it. And if they aren't quite sure how to do that, you can show them. If they're not sure how to trace their name, if they don't really recognize the word trace, then I would start with just some shapes and lines and maybe draw a happy face in yellow and say, hey, can you draw that happy face over? Can you try to do that? Something a little simple to get them used to the idea of tracing something and then move on to their names. So here's my name traced. I did an excellent job. I know, I'm very proud of myself. I love how I followed those lines so nicely, and I really tried hard, and my persistence is paying off because it looks so nice. Those are examples of some really good feedback to give your child. So if they're tracing that well, like that's beautiful, then they might try to write their name underneath where you've written it. All right, so they're going to have some reversals. They're going to forget a letter. They're going to make letters strange, and they're not going to look quite right. They're going to do a mix of upper and lower case, and those are all fine. I wouldn't worry too much about that. I would probably just be like, look at how good you're trying, and then move on and do it again at another time. You can always write their name underneath, and sometimes they'll notice the difference. But what you don't want to do is shame them or tell, oh, that's totally wrong. And then they won't want to come to the table. And frankly, writing their name at this age is not totally developmentally appropriate. It can hit or miss with kids. So what is really appropriate is giving them that sense of accomplishment, that idea that it's safe to try, it's safe to ask for help. It's safe to make a mistake and not have it be perfect right away. That sometimes practice and work is what you need to make something turn out really well. So I would definitely be very positive and engaging and kind, always kind when it comes to these sorts of skills in early childhood, because we don't want to set them up to have a harder time when they hit kindergarten. We want them to be open to that learning. We want them to adore their teacher and want to do really well, and know that sometimes things take a little time and practice to do, and that it's worth practicing so that you can accomplish that task. All right. So having said that, if you're choosing to have your child write their name or write numbers or letters, please use a highlighter or a colored pencil. You can even use a yellow crayon for them to trace over. You can write out their numbers and have them write it out. I know I have a few students that are doing that already, but I would definitely keep it to our 5 praises to 1 criticism. Make sure you're really going overboard with that specific, gosh, I really love how hard you're working to get this skill, because that's the stuff that's going to carry them into grade school more than knowing how to write their name. All right, so ways to support fine motor at home. There's lots of things you can do. One of the easiest things you could do is get all that junk mail or flyers that you receive. I don't have any on hand right now. We've already recycled a lot of them. I don't have anyone ripping paper at home these days. And have them sit in the living room and let them make a giant mess just ripping pictures out. So we're going to have our little pincher fingers. We're going to go forward and backwards. We're going to try to, like, if they see a picture of a strawberry that they think is really cool, they can find it in that picture and then rip it out so that they have that picture of the strawberry. If they rip the strawberry, oh, that's okay. That's what tape is for. Or, well, let's see if we can find another one. This really strengthens those hand muscles. It teaches our brain to work in 2 different ways. It makes our hands cooperate. Ripping paper is not only great for fine motor and your thinking skills, but it is actually a lot of fun. And making a giant mess and throwing paper around is a great way to get some of that sensory anxiety out and know that you're still okay to do that. And then guess what? Cleaning that mess up, we're being responsible, we're being respectful, and we're using our fine motor to pick up these little pieces of paper to either keep in a bag so that you can do an art project later with them or recycle them, however you determine to clean it up. But ripping paper is a phenomenal way to do fine motor. If you have a pair of child scissors, these are kind of in between child and grown-up scissors, the ones I have, you can encourage them to cut out, like say we're going to cut out Miss Helen's name or a shape. You want to have a nice thick line for your shape. So if you've drawn a circle, you want to make sure they can see that it's the circle there, so that they're not confused about what they're cutting out. They're going to hold it in one hand. Their thumb is up, right? Fingers in these fingers down, thumb is up, and it should be pointed away from them. We often have kids who try to cut this way. You want to just gently tell them, point that scissor away from you and cut around. And you can even use your finger to show them around the line, right? And cutting out shapes. I have a variety of levels of cutters in my class. Some of my friends are snipping like this, and they're not quite getting all the way across. If you have a student at home that's doing that, you might want to just do straight lines across the page to show them that forward motion. I have some friends who are, when I write their name in the middle, they're just cutting around their name because they love their name. Remind them to cut around the line. I have friends that like to hold it like this, or sometimes I don't even know how they are, point inward. You just want to, it's not always easy, especially if you're working with a child who's left-handed and you're right-handed. So the easiest way to do it when you're facing your child is have them, you take your scissors in your safety hands like this, and most of my class knows that's how you carry scissors safely. Point it at them, and then they can then insert their hand the way they're supposed to. So then it's pointed this way at them. You have their thumb on top and their fingers under, and now they're ready. They're ready to cut, right? And keep that elbow, give them lots of room to throw some elbows. So cutting and ripping paper is a fantastic way and could conceivably eat up a good 20 minutes of your day. The other thing you can do, I had all these little jars. You can undo jars, open and close little jars. If you have cups at home, these are new cups. Man, it is hard when you have one hand. You can have them stacking cups at home. Everybody loves to stack cups. Once the cups are nice and stacked, you can have them push them down, throw a ball at them, throw a beanbag at them, and then stack them up again. My class has gotten really good at creative cup stacking. We have a set of speed stacking cups in my classroom, and they've gotten really, really talented at finding innovative ways to stack cups. I found all these beads on a tray. You can do this with salt or sand. You put everything on a tray or a plate. I didn't have any salt or sand at home, so I actually found this in my basement. You'd be surprised what you have down there. You can write a letter on a piece of paper, and then they can try to make the shape in the salt or the beads here. The other thing we can do with these is we can use them in our cups. I can put them in my cups and pour them back and forth. I know, so simple, right? These are fun because we could sort them. It's a nice collection, everything red in one cup, everything yellow in another cup. Putting on and off, shockingly enough, on and off marker caps is excellent fine motor, that twist and pull, and making sure that those caps are back on. I found some little foamy stuff that I could pull apart. We'll use this later with a little blowing on it with a straw and moving it around. We can bring back our Play-Doh that we made the other day. Like this. Squish up some Play-Doh. take your beads, push them in there, put them in the Play-Doh, and then try to dig them out again and make little Play-Doh creatures. Let me try to get these out. My Play-Doh is very wet. I haven't played with it in a while. I hope you're playing with your Play-Doh. All right. And I put that back in its bag. So there's lots and lots of ways to support fine motor at home through play. And I hope that you are having lots of fun and playing. I love you guys so much and I miss you so much. And I'm hoping to do a video later this afternoon outside with some paper and crayons and marker and see what kind of shapes we can find and what we can draw. So if you do that before I make the video, send me an email. Show me what you drew. I love you guys so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.